Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deciphered, the podcast where we take complex and difficult topics and bring them back down to size so that everyone could understand. So for this episode, I'm going to try my best attempt to not get in trouble or not cross boundaries, because this podcast I'm about to articulate is controversial, I guess you would say. It's going to deal with the ideas of patriotism, nationalism, and the political correctness of America and our society as a whole. So, being a child of the late 90s and 2000s, I've seen a great deal of change. And that change is so noticeable, it's ridiculous. And I'm pretty much talking about the political correctness part. I'm gonna tackle these subjects, side by side. The political correctness, patriotism, nationalism, and then just try to make some sense out of it all. Right. So when I grew up, you had comedians. I'm gonna say use comedians to help me convey this message here, because I feel like everyone can relate to this. Who weren't afraid of making fun of people. Race, their work ethic, I don't know, whatever. You guys listen to comedians, Robin Williams, Dave Chappelle, whatever. There's a whole load of them, and they all have their quirks. And now today's standards, that same crowd, okay, a different crowd. The same crowd probably wouldn't get along with the new crowd, because the crowd of yesteryear really didn't give a shit. Yeah, I mean, they might have got offended, but kind of rolled off their shoulder, or they would say something back, and that was it. Today, it's liable to start a protest. I'll give you a good example of how the political correctness is, plaguing the country for better or worse. Starbucks. Merry Christmas on the cup. It's going away. I don't know if they brought it back. I haven't been to Starbucks at Christmas time that much, so I just don't know. But I heard about it. I've seen it, and it's ridiculous. Even to people, it's like, can't say that. Well, I'm like, how do I know if you celebrate Christmas or not? I'm just saying it's Christmas time, and that's what people say. I mean, obviously, if you're not part of the Christian religion and it's obvious in your attire, then I'm probably not going to say it, because that's common sense. But to an average Joe who's an atheist, or a non-Christian that doesn't, dress, as the religion requires, how the hell am I supposed to know? Or how is anyone supposed to know? So that right there, debunked. That should be like a given, okay? Whatever. You don't want to be a Christian, fine. I mean, but you like gifts, though, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's just, I don't know, it's weird in this country how that works. You can't offend people, yet they want to celebrate it. I don't know. Another thing I want to take a stab at is Hollywood and their portrayal of certain historic figures that have nothing to do with, as far as being historical accurate, it just doesn't work out. And that sucks. And for a while, I guess people were letting it go, and just it built up so much that people were like, no, they pointed it out. Like, hey, that's the wrong skin tone for Cleopatra. Or, hey, why is Achilles, black? I don't know. These are things that should be addressed, or maybe not. I don't know. But I'm just saying, if this happened like years ago, it just wouldn't be that much of a big deal. Not saying it's okay to get away with this shit. No. Listen, I'm for the people, by the people. I'm a Democrat, socialist. I love all that liberal bullshit to an extent. But you got to draw the line somewhere. It's getting out of hand, really. Like, you seriously have to, watch what you say, or walk on glass. It's not to, really go out of your way not to insult someone. Where I don't think, once again, yesteryear, it wasn't much of a problem. Or if it was addressed and dealt with then, and that was it. But today, I mean, it'll be like a revolution. People will protest in the streets, vandalize things. It's a madhouse. And it's all because of our current state of affairs. We have a president that's undone everything that was holding this country together. We were almost over the whole racism thing. Just to be clear, I'm not defending anyone. I'm not defending criminals, psychopaths, whatever. I'm just saying, if someone had a corrupt past or did something despicable, it was dealt with right there, then and there. The problem was taken care of, per se, behind closed doors, and very little of it got to the public. In fact, the only time you really saw something brought up were these extravagant murder trials. But even then, it was dealt with. All these other people, that actors and comedians and so on and so forth with these, really messed up agendas. They apologized. Now, I'm sure this happened, once again, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, but it was dealt with and it wasn't blown up. I mean, sure, it affected their career, but like I said, I just don't remember this. Maybe I was too young to grasp, or, just like it wasn't brought up, you know what I mean? Where all you see on social media is this person's getting fired because he made a comment about someone, how they looked, or whatever. But it's, like I said, it's getting out of hand now. They just fired a director of Guardians of the Galaxy, and, for something he's written, a long time ago. Someone actually took the time to dig up what this guy said that was, I guess, controversial, and blew it out of proportion. Same thing with Chris Hardwick, the guy who does the Talking Dead show. His girlfriend tried to bury him, almost did, and he was able to literally, get out of his predicament by the skin of his teeth. Now, I'm not saying any of these, whatever they've done in the past or the present, whatever is right or wrong, I'm just saying it should be dealt their matters. Should the public know? Maybe to an extent. But what this does, this fuels more fire, more hatred, and more just prejudice all over. And this is not what we need right now. I'll throw out another example. Famous, TV series, The Sopranos. Betrayed Italian Americans as mafioso. Yes, did this occur? Of course, we all know it. But believe it or not every Italian likes to be associated with the criminal underworld. Same thing if you were to portray Latin Americans as drug dealers or, warlords. I'm sure they're not that thrilled, right? I mean, come on, yeah. Does country have representations of these figures? Yeah, sure. But, it's to that extent, and it doesn't cross over. I mean, all these people are hardworking, Latino Americans, Italian Americans, just Russian gangsters that, left that shit behind and continued to do legitimate businesses. Anyway, my point is, it's stereotyping wasn't much of a problem, or if it was, like I said, it was dealt with and finished right then and there. It was addressed, they took care of it, they apologized, and moved on. Now, like I said, it's like a mammoth eruption of a volcano that could ruin people politically and professionally, and the effects are damaging. It's something that could be handled on a one-on-one basis has destroyed someone's entire reputation for better or worse. Now, moving on. Nationalism and patriotism, they kind of go hand in hand. Both are a ideology of, favoring your country, pretty much, where you come from. Me, for example, I'm an American of Italian descent, Italian American, whatever. All of us have, came from somewhere else, pretty much. All of you know this already. This is not new news, okay? Anyone listening here, unless you're, literally born here, inherited the earth, like a Native American, then I guess this doesn't apply to you. But like several years ago, it was cool being American. Yeah, we were made fun of a lot. We had our own problems going on, and we just couldn't really grasp, that American dream that I guess our forefathers thought up, that our ancestors came here looking for. It's just, isn't like it used to be. I don't recognize the country I live in anymore. It's filled with hate, dishonesty, corruption, and but there, at the same time, there's benefits of living in the United States of America. But freedoms we do have, which are, slimming down, but the ones that are left beat third world country shit. There you go. That's the honest truth. You know it, I know it, it's just how it is. I mean, you have to take comfort in knowing that you could go from border to border in the United States without getting, stopped by military personnel at a checkpoint. Maybe, you're subject to search if there's something going down, but other than that, there's no tanks or this and that. I mean, like, unless there's like a riot, we all have a free pass here in the United States. It's the truth. Everyone has equal opportunity. Those who seek it, I mean, maybe be clear here, America has opportunity if you seek it, and if you're one of the freaking, chosen few. You could be the hardest working person on earth, but, you could only achieve so much here. They've opened the door for a select amount of people and pretty much said, screw everyone else. This is another thing I feel like I don't have to explain. I think it's clear as day. If you guys understand it, great. If you don't, then I guess you're part of the problem then. Now, with that said, patriotism. I'm a patriot. I've waved the flag, go America. I'm into the, history of the Revolutionary War, Civil War. I like the rights that we used to fight for and what we used to stand for. That's awesome. I mean, whatever's left, I'll support it. If it's for the freedom of everything, speech, rights, whatever, then I'm all for it. That's the American way, yeah. Unfortunately, after Obama, like the presidency kind of like took a nosedive, and I don't agree with the policy there. As patriotic as he sounds, it may sound to people, it's definitely not within the boundaries of what actual patriotism in America is. It's fallen off the deep end, and a lot of people are doing a lot of un-American things. And I know you're going to say, "Oh, well, that's just their choice." No, it's because they feel like an alien in their own country. Our leaders have done this. Our, street captains, if you live in a city, our city council members, mayors, they've, listened to these right-wing people that have oppressed the working class. And, what happens when you're backed up in a corner? You're going to lash back out. And it's not going to be pretty. If you feel like a prisoner in your own country, that's bad. And that's where we're headed. Patriotism isn't dead, it's just, severely wounded at the moment. And there will come a time, now, 10 years from now maybe, I don't know, someone who knows what they're doing is going to get behind the Oval Office again and, hopefully resurrect the shell of what America was. Now let's talk about nationalism. Nationalism, like patriotism, another ideology, and basically it's pride with your ethnic background, your country, whatever. Like I said, me being a Italian American, I love America to an extent. Like I said, I like some of its values and what it's accomplished, but I'm also a huge supporter of my ancestral country, Italy. And definitely. I don't know if they got into a war and if they wanted, every Italian American to, go over, hey, listen, help us fight, you guys are, of Italian descent. I don't know. See, that's a whole other ball game. I don't know if that's even doable today. Because people are, like I said, they're either one way or another. And, but I see a lot more. The more people become unpatriotic here in this country, because America is a melting pot of everyone. And what happens when that patriotism in the United States dies out, nationalism grows for your own, basically where you came from. And that could be either a really dangerous thing or a really good thing. If you, like to talk about your culture or where your people came from and you're proud and you have pride about that, great, no problem. Talk about that all day. I think that's one thing we lack in America is culture. Because America is a brand of its own, but it's also, made up of 100 different nations. And I think with that influence, that's what makes this country great. Unfortunately, with our, this country's leaders, it's lacking that. And I hope, one day a return to the norm would be nice. Because we need cultural differences. That's just how you learn from one another, period. Now, like I said, nationalism could be a good thing or bad thing. In 1930s Germany, it's another thing that kind of spun out of control. Because you had guys like Hitler, okay? Hitler saw the problem. He's a former soldier, and his country was, I guess, not under the influence, but, let's see, how can I put this without, sounding insulting or whatever, or offensive. Well, you had a foreign group of people, people of Jewish descent, that were making, ends meet more so than the actual countrymen of Germany. And this was a problem, and he addressed it. But what he did is he kind of blew it out of proportion. Instead of, rationalizing it and say, hey, this is our land. We could, share it. We could, maybe find some kind of middle ground. Work with the problem. Don't rub up against it. Don't, just go to war with it. Find solutions before becoming physical. I think that's how every, argument should be done, because if you go in, fists blazing, it's gonna get ugly really quick. You know what I'm saying? Like war and God knows what else. But once the nationalism bug hits, and it becomes this wave of like a superiority complex over other people and country, that's when it becomes dangerous. Thus leading to, some of the worst human calamities ever. And with all that said, my basic point I'm trying to get across here is it's okay to be patriotic. It's okay to, have a sense of nationalism and love where you came from, or your peoples per se. What's not okay is thinking, my group is better than their group, or my religion is better than their religion. And, if you have, means to back this up, or, these real, demented arguments, these vulgar, hate speeches on praising how, you're superior over this person on any side of the boats, ethnic, local people, immigrants, whatever. It should be about unity. That's the key word here. It brings people together. That's what it means. And, we're severely lacking it in this day and age. I personally don't know if I'll ever see the unity that I saw growing up, and if it'll ever be prevalent again like it was. Given our current situation, we're still a nation divided, but you have people that are willing to look past all the hate and rage out there and come together on common ground, whatever it may be. And hopefully, lead by example to future generations that replace hate with forgiveness, replace segregation with unity. Hopefully, everyone sees the light at the end of the tunnel. That one day, we'll all know what it's like to be united under liberty once again. Thank you all for taking the time to listen. I had a decision to make this podcast either about history, my first love, or this more or less controversial matter. But I think this is more important, more of a where everyone can understand. So yeah, there you have it. Let me know what you think. Comment, like, whatever your heart desires. All of you take care and see you next time. Bye.